we're going to talk West Ham now. West Ham, we spoke about them yesterday, didn't we? West Ham yet to do any business so far this summer. I say yet to do any business. They've sold their captain, their talisman, their best player. They've yet to replace him, which is a surprise. A lot of West Ham fans called in yesterday. Phone lines are open, by the way, West Ham fans. 03717 22 3344. If you want to vent, we can help you with that. Let's welcome in, though, Jacob Steinberg from The Guardian football journalist. Jacob, let's just go with it. West Ham, yet to sign any players. Obviously, look, there's been interest in some. You know, there's an interest in João Paulinho. I expect that one to kind of die down now because of his injury. There's been talks about Calvin Phillips and Harvey Barnes, who's gone to Newcastle. What's going on with West Ham and their transfer business?
Well, it's not surprising that it's moving slowly at West Ham, because it seems to be every summer that it kind of goes this way. If you look back to last year, they got some of the business done relatively quickly, but then a lot of it seemed to drag on. You know, best example maybe would be Paquetá arriving quite late after a long search for a bit more in attacking midfield. And the consequence of that, while you'd say he turned out to be an excellent signing in the end, given he set up the winning goal in the Conference League final, would be it took him quite a long time to settle into the side. It took him about 6 months after coming to the Premier League. So that slow way that they tend to do business can cause issues, even if you might say, okay, they're not rushing into deals, not panicking, and taking their time to get the right player in. At times, I think it's a bit counterproductive, because I think the way they started the season last year, they lost the first few games. David Moyes was under pressure straight away, and I would have thought they'd kind of need to get it done a bit more quickly than they did do last year this time around. But it seems that they're following a similar pattern, and obviously this time, you know, without Declan Rice, the pressure kind of has gone up again, even with that Conference League win.
Jacob, there's a lot of conversation going on from a West Ham United perspective regarding Conor Gallagher. Like, we've seen Conor Gallagher score for Chelsea in pre-season already, but it seems to be that he could be surplus to requirements. Pochettino, despite the fact that he seems to like him, seems fairly reluctant, but admits that he may lose him. Do you feel like Conor Gallagher will be playing for West Ham next season?
It's hard to say for sure. I think the general stance on that is that it could go either way. And also there's Tottenham in the mix as well, although I'd be surprised, given the history between the clubs, if Chelsea would sell to Spurs. It's not something that happens too often in the history of the Premier League. And my hunch would be that if he goes anywhere, it would be West Ham, but I wouldn't rule him out staying at Chelsea. I guess the issue that you've got there is that he's got 2 years left on his contract. There's been no suggestion of a new deal. And we've seen pretty much under these new owners at Chelsea that once the players are getting towards the end of those deals, they will get them out the door. You know, Mason Mount being the prime example of that. I think that Gallagher would be an absolutely fantastic signing for West Ham. They actually tried last year on loan, and it was knocked back, I think, by the player, actually, as well as the club. You know, I think he struggled a little bit through lack of consistency in terms of his position last year. I think he was moved around a lot at Chelsea, didn't really get that proper run in central midfield, where we saw him play so well for Crystal Palace the year before. And remember, that's what got him into the England squad, and probably really what got him to the World Cup last year as well, because his form for Chelsea didn't really have much of an impact on that. I think if he was to go to West Ham, I think he would probably really improve the midfield, give them more of a goal scoring threat as well, a lot more energy through, you know, the pressing. Maybe some questions over the technical level with him, but I think for West Ham he'd be a great signing. It's just whether or not they're willing to up the bid. The one they put in the end of last week was 37 million plus 3 in add-ons. Chelsea want more. I think if you look at the way that Chelsea have done business this summer when they've been selling players, they've sort of set a valuation that, you know, seems to be a little bit high and end up sort of meeting in the middle. Pretty much what happened with Mount in the end with United as well. So perhaps with, you know, West Ham offering 40, Chelsea talking about 50, maybe we'll look at 45 in the end.
Yeah, there's some reports, and whether or not this is true, I don't know. You can probably confirm about a disconnect, or at least a slight disconnect, between the new director of football, Tim Steighton, and David Moyes, and that's why deals haven't gone through or deals haven't been done as yet. Any rumours or any truth to those rumours?
I think that there's something in that. You've got the issue where David Moyes has this head of recruitment who recently came in Rob Newman, who's close to him. last year's business didn't go too well. Some of the signings last year turned out to be a bit mixed. People like Skamaka, who didn't really settle into English football. Obviously, as we said before, Paqueta took a while to come to settle as well. And West Ham, they looked at that and felt that they needed to bring in a director of football or a technical director, certainly as well to help Mark Noble, who stepped into that role of sporting director with not a lot of experience in January after his retirement. They felt they needed to sharpen up on that recruitment side. It took them a while though to find the person. Stuyton ends up coming in after they win the Conference League, and by that point we're already quite a long way into the transfer window. So, for example, towards April, May, they were pretty much the front runners to sign Harvey Barnes from Leicester, which would have been, I think, a really good signing for the left wing, because I think people like Ben Rama, Fornals, I don't think they entirely have Moyes' trust. But when Stuyton comes in, it sort of just slows everything down on that front. Newcastle are able to get their act together, decide that they want the player, come in, get it done pretty quickly. And West Ham, through bringing in this guy who definitely has some good ideas, some of the players that you hear him suggesting, you think that there's some good thinking going on there, but it seems to have slightly confused things. And what the general vibe seems to be is that Stuyton is looking at players more towards in Europe, and Moyes very much would like to bring in Premier League experience. And I think he's for him, what's informed that thinking is they brought in quite a few players from overseas last year, and it didn't really work out as well the year before. Nikola Vlasic as well, that they brought from Russia for about 30 million, really didn't work out. So Moyes is sort of pushing more for the likes of James Ward-Prowse, which is a deal I would expect to get done in the end. I think Ward-Prowse wants to go to West Ham. We've seen the links with Scott McTominay as well. They're all. It's not very exciting. You would trust to come in and do the job. I think that the question is that you're probably paying more for players in the Premier League than you would do overseas. And Stuyton, for example, suggested Youssouf Fofana, young French international at Monaco. Moyes isn't too sure about that, and it's turning into a little bit of a battle between the two. But it's early days. Let's see how it.
Jacob, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Jacob Steinberg there. Unfortunately, hopefully you guys got the majority of that conversation. It was cutting in and out, but he said some interesting points there.